Hello, CS111 students. This is my problem set video for problem set 6, task 4 on recursive scales. And this problem is a really simple problem in terms of the requirements that we have because it's a problem you have already done. We want you to write some code that does the exact same thing as problem set 5, task 3. And just like that task, this is one of two tasks that are optional in terms of you can do one or the other. You don't have to do both. Well, you have to do one of them. They're not truly optional. So you have to do either this task, task 4, or task 3 on problem set 6. And you should probably choose the one that matches the one you did on problem set 5 because that's what you're going to be most familiar with. And really, all we're asking you to do is solve the same problem again, but this time using recursion instead of loops. So for this task, we've actually even reduced exactly what you have to do slightly. For part A, we want you to write a function called scale. It does the same thing that scale did in problem set 5, task 3. It has two parameters. Note length determines the duration of each note, and notes up determines how many notes are in the upward part of the scale. It should do the exact same thing, and we've provided an example of that here, although you can also refer to the examples that were provided in problem set 5, task 3. But it is not allowed to use any loops, and it must be recursive. So that will be a challenge. And that will help you to think about, okay, how do I use a recursion to solve a problem that I'm familiar with already? The hint that we give you here is that each recursive function call frame needs to add 2 notes to the tract. But those notes won't necessarily be subsequent notes in the context of the whole scale. And if that hint is confusing to you, I suggest that you chase that confusion down a little bit and try to think about what that really means, and maybe ask for a little bit of an explanation from somebody if you need more help understanding that. Because it is a tricky problem to get the notes to go up and back down, which the scale does have to do, just like it did before, in the context of recursion. So that's part A. Part B is uneven scaling. Guess what? Same thing as we did last week, except this time you have to do it using recursion. Again, it takes 2 parameters. One determines the length of every other note. The other one determines how many notes are going up, and the length of the notes that are not determined by the first parameter are just half as much as that parameter. So it really determines the length of all the notes. It's just it is the duration of half of them, and it is double the duration of the other half. So the top note of the scale is always long. That was true last time, that's true this time, and that is an important piece of the puzzle in terms of solving this one recursively. So we have given you, again, examples of what that sounds like and what the print track output should be, and you can also look at the examples from last time. The behavior is the same, it's just we're asking you to solve the problem in a different way. And again, I want to emphasize this point that the length of the first and last notes depends on how many notes are in the scale. Because the top note is always long, and every other note going both down in both directions from there has to be half as long, has to be short. So try to solve that one recursively, and that's it for this task. You don't need to do recursive versions of half-step scale or of my scales. It's just scale and uneven scale. That is plenty for you to think about. And that's it for my video for this problem set. It's a short one because there's not much to explain. Although it certainly is not necessarily an easy problem set because solving these things recursively is tricky.